I feel like I've got no control. Energy prices just keep going up. You're watching this video because you're concerned about the rising energy prices in the UK. So in this video, I'm going to explain exactly how you can protect yourself from fluctuating energy prices and take control of your own energy production by utilising renewable technology. My name's Jordan, and with my company Artisan Electrics, we've helped hundreds of people to do exactly that through installing solar and battery systems. Now, there's a lot going on in the world today, and I cannot predict the future. Nothing in this video is financial advice, it's just how I feel, and this is exactly what's driven me to get a solar and battery system installed here at my business. Now, let's face it, the world has gone mad. It's been like this for a while now, and the problem is that every time a new crisis kicks off, energy prices can spike and it creates so much uncertainty. We're seeing it now with fuel prices going through the roof, people worried about how they're going to be able to pay their oil, heating bills, and the cost of running an internal combustion engine vehicle going through the roof because of all of the petrol prices changing. That then has a knock-on effect on gas prices, which often has a knock-on effect on electricity prices. So people are worried about their electricity bills going up too. And the question is, what can you do to protect yourself from all of the craziness that's going on in the world today? If you zoom out, energy has always gone in one direction, up. Waiting for prices to come down is a bit like waiting for house prices to come back down after 1995. Logically, we may assume that prices can continue to go up over time, particularly with instability around the world affecting various supply chains for oil, gas, petrol, diesel, etc. So the first thing you can do to protect yourself from all of these things is to try and get away from consuming oil-based products as much as possible. One suggestion that many people have taken up is getting an electric vehicle. I've been driving electric vehicles now for a few years, and what I love is that I don't even know what the fuel prices are anymore. I don't care because it doesn't affect me. I can plug my car in, charge it up overnight on cheap rate electricity, or plug it in at my local supercharger where I've got free Tesla supercharging miles at the moment, and my car currently costs me $0 to run, which is incredible. The other benefit of having an electric vehicle, of course, is that if you've got solar, you can charge that car up for free using your own solar energy that you've generated from your roof or your ground mount solar array. And that is not only a really cool feeling, but can save you an absolute fortune on running a vehicle. And there's one thing that a lot of people aren't thinking about when it comes to the uptake of electric vehicles. So as more and more people get EVs, what's going to happen is less and less people are going to be buying petrol and diesel, right? But the government makes a huge amount of taxes from the duties on fuel for vehicles. So what might happen? Well, logically, they might have to transfer some of those taxes and duties on to electricity because people are going to be buying more electricity to run their vehicles. So imagine if that did happen and suddenly electric prices go up even more because of the amount of tax that gets put on electricity, then the benefit of having your own solar generated from your own home is even more because all of that solar that you're generating yourself, it's a bit like manufacturing your own petrol and diesel, which you don't have to buy and therefore you do not have to pay any taxes on. It's an absolute no-brainer. And there's a great example of this starting to happen already. It's road tax. Originally, when I got an electric vehicle, it was 0% road tax and 0% benefit in kind because they really wanted to incentivize people to get EVs. But now, as there are more and more EVs on the road, they're having to start taxing EV drivers because of the impact that it has on the roads. And the benefit in kind is starting to creep up as well. So these taxes are starting to come into place for electric vehicles because the money has to come somewhere for the government, right? And that may well increase in other areas too. So let's talk about solar and battery systems for a moment, because when it comes to independence from all of the chaos that's going on in the world, the best way to secure and lock in your prices when it comes to energy is to be able to generate it yourself. Because for every kilowatt hour that you generate yourself, you're not pulling a kilowatt hour from the grid. You're not having to buy it from a market that is potentially very volatile and unstable. Also, in reality, we rely on a lot of different countries around the world in some way when it comes to the supply chain for actually generating the electricity that we use. And many people just feel that they don't want to be beholden to other nations when it comes to their energy because there's so much that is just out of our control. So how can a solar and battery system help if you're thinking about getting one? Well, the first thing is very obvious. You can generate some free electricity from your roof. Now, when I say it's free, it's not really free. There is a cost because there's a cost to getting the system installed. But the advantage of installing a solar PV system is you basically lock in your price of energy for the lifetime of that system. You pay once up front for that solar PV system based on today's prices, and then all of the energy that you generate from that system is the same price effectively throughout the lifetime of the system. The more you can generate from your roof and the less you can pull from the grid, the more you save and the more secure you are in terms of your energy future. The reality is that many people now look back to 10 years ago and say, I wish I'd got solar installed during the feed-in tariff, the heyday of solar, because people who did have made an absolute killing off their solar installs. It's paid for itself within a really great period of time. And now they're just making free cash off their solar install and they're not worried about energy prices. So yeah, the best time to have got solar installed would have been 10 years ago, but the second best time is today, because the reality is that in 10 years from now, you'll be looking back saying, I wish I'd got solar installed 10 years ago. Now, for all solar PV systems that are designed correctly, you should get a document that is part of the proposal which shows you your estimated payback period. And that return on investment calculation, so to speak, is based on an average estimated increase in price of energy year by year, usually around 7%. But the reality is, what is not factored into that proposal is the peace of mind that you get from knowing that you don't have to worry about crazy fluctuations in energy prices. If energy prices go up 20% next year and you don't have a solar and battery system, you can't generate your own energy, you are forced to buy that electricity from the grid. And let's face it, we can't live without electricity these days, or it's very difficult to do so. So in order to continue living the life that you live, the cost is going to go up, and there is nothing you can do about that. If you've got a solar and battery system, that completely changes the game, because suddenly you can generate your own energy. You've got a brilliant overview of how much energy you're generating, how much you're using. You can even tweak your usage to try and save energy in certain areas, and it gives you this feeling of peace of mind knowing that you're very much less reliant on the grid than you were before. Now, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Nobody can predict it, and that is just the reality of life. Prices could go down. They could go massively up. We just don't know. But in general, if you ask most people, they'll probably say that they think the world is going to get more unstable, not less, and therefore the advantages of these systems are only going to get more and more as the world gets more and more chaotic. So let me give you a few examples of the types of systems that we install and how they benefited the customer. At Artisan, we tend to do big systems for customers who use a lot of energy from the grid. People who are paying hundreds or even thousands of pounds a month on their energy bills, in reality will benefit the most from these kind of systems because they're impacted the most when prices fluctuate. So for a customer who is, say, spending £500 a month on their electricity bill, to suddenly be able to fit a solar PV system that throughout the year can actually cover 100% of their energy needs means that in winter they're buying a lot less electricity from the grid, and in summer they're buying zero electricity from the grid, and they're actually exporting power to the grid and getting paid for it. And over the year, that excess in summer offsets the slightly lower generation in winter and balances out to a net effect of them basically pulling nothing from the grid over a year period. But there's another benefit to these systems that a lot of people don't think about, and that's when it comes to backup power. The UK grid is getting older, and the reality is that power cuts are getting more and more common, particularly as more and more heavy items get connected to the grid. The strain on the grid is increasing with things like electric vehicle charging, data centers that consume a huge amount of power. Many people are finding that they're getting more power cuts now than they used to. and that may increase if the grid cannot keep up with the upgrades that they need to do on a regular basis. So if you've got your own renewable energy generation system, it gives you this amazing benefit of being able to run off-grid in the event of a failure on the grid in some way. Maybe an overhead line goes down because there's a storm. Again, the weather is not getting more stable, it seems to be getting less stable. So storms are becoming more and more common, and an overhead line going down can knock out the power for hours or even days. If you've got an off-grid ready system with a backup gateway, like many of the systems that we install for our clients, it enables you to still run your house, still power your lights, your fridge, your appliances, your important infrastructure such as keeping the internet on and being able to work from home, which many people do now. And the peace of mind, again, that comes from just knowing that if the power cuts off, you're still going to be able to keep the lights on is game changing for a lot of people. It gives them confidence that they're protected from whatever's going on in the outside world, whether it be from energy price rises or from grid outages. The other type of system that a lot of people are benefiting from right now is when it comes to battery storage. There are a lot of tariffs that different energy providers offer that allow you to use energy at a cheaper rate at certain times of the day. For example, many of the EV tariffs offer a low overnight rate to charge your electric vehicle, and that makes the cost of running an electric vehicle very attractive. But during that cheap overnight window, you can also use that cheap electricity to charge up a battery that is fitted in your house, and that battery then can be used to run the house throughout the rest of the day, effectively reducing your cost per kilowatt hour of energy down from whatever it was before, maybe 30 to 40 pence, down to 7, 8, 10 pence per kilowatt hour, and effectively reducing the cost of the energy that you do pull from the grid, maybe reducing the cost by 2/3 of what it was before. Now, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Maybe as more and more people get electric vehicles, these tariffs will become less and less attractive as there's going to be more and more demand at those off-peak windows. But the fact is that if you have a battery, it gives you the flexibility to be able to do whatever you want with your energy at a time that suits what's going on in the grid. For example, exporting power from your battery at peak times and getting paid for it. There are some really interesting and attractive programs out there now where you can get paid a lot to export power to the grid at certain times when the grid needs it. A battery also gives you the chance to absorb a lot of the excess solar energy that you're producing, particularly in summer, and use that solar energy to run your house overnight when the sun's not shining and save from pulling any power from the grid overnight. For example, here at Artisan HQ, we've had our own installed solar and battery system since September when we moved in, and we're now in March and it's already generating 90% of the energy that we need to run this entire building. We've also got backup power so that if there is a grid outage, we know that we can still run our business and there's not going to be any business interruption. In fact, last Friday, there was a power cut on this industrial estate and we were the only business that was still running. Everyone else had to send their teams home because they couldn't work because they didn't have enough electricity. And that felt good, I must say. So a lot of people think that solar and battery is a scam. It's not worth it. The payback just doesn't make sense. But as the world gets more and more chaotic, it seems to me that it's a no-brainer. If you're worried about what's happening with the energy markets and you're worried about what's going on in the world and with other countries and wars and all of these kind of things, then there's nothing more comforting than knowing that you can generate your own renewable energy, you can use it yourself, and your property can operate completely off-grid if needed. The peace of mind of having your energy infrastructure secured, well, that is priceless. But in addition, as we've seen, there are a lot of financial benefits to not having to pull energy from the grid and being able to use it yourself. That being said, there are economies of scale, and if you're a heavy user of energy with a large property, solar and battery definitely makes more financial sense than it does if you've got a very small house and you use hardly any electricity, because the base costs of getting scaffolding up, getting panels on the roof, batteries installed is quite significant, and the ROI often doesn't make sense for very small properties with low energy use. If you would like a quote, by the way, there's a link below where you can get in touch with us and we'll be happy to look at your property and create a bespoke design and quotation for your needs. So if you're worried about what's going on in the world, it's definitely worth looking into getting solar and battery installed. Will it solve all of the world's problems? No, but it may give you the peace of mind that you need to take control of your energy prices, to lock in that price now for the lifetime of a system, and to give you the energy security and peace of mind so that you don't need to worry about all of the chaos that's going on in the energy markets. Hope this video has been of benefit to you, and if you've enjoyed it, why not share it out with somebody else who can benefit? And either way, leave us a like and subscribe. It's a way of telling us that you've enjoyed this video and benefited from it, and we'll see you on the next one.